I'd like to thank you all in advance for putting up with my foolishness. Um, yeah, anyway, I don't know that I've ever actually done a half an hour before, so we'll see what we can do.
20 minutes.
20, I'm sorry.
20.
20 minutes. 15, 5. I'll read a poem and then leave. Okay.
Joe?
So this is my broadside. I have several if y'all are interested. I have a couple of my chapbooks. I was planning on anything that I sold today, I was going to go ahead and donate to the Writers Guild. And I do have several of my little things available if you're interested. Broadside, this was probably one of my first lengthy poems. I kind of did a rip-off of somebody else's poem that was written for me, so I wrote this poem in return for them. It's called Roles Reversed. This time, it's my turn to share. This is my passion. He has to know. Pausing every 5 minutes to ensure that he understands the story within the story, expressing the despair that Cervantes is facing. Stop, smoke. Alone on the couch, I prepare the next regurgitation of information. The poet, the playwright, the actor expressing his art to the prisoners during the Spanish Inquisition. Back on the couch, reassuring the pupper that she's a good girl, I catch a glimpse of his eyes and my mind blanks. Play, pause, play. I quickly become absorbed in the story again. His eyes glued, mouth hanging open. He stares at me, eyes glued, mouth hanging open. Play, pause, pay attention. He loves watching me get lost. He is fascinated by my intensity. I feel his passion rise to my level as he takes all that I throw. I sit smoky content, feet propped on my love, happier than happy. When you are loved, you can dream the impossible dream. When the stairs descend and my name is spoken, I will ascend with my head held high, knowing that I am loved. All right. This was my little first individual publication. It's called Inspiralations. Basically, I took all of my little muse poems and put them all in a little amusing book. So I have probably one of my favorite poems ever, and I'm going to try really hard to self-censor this one. But I look to my cat for inspiration. I want my cat's rump to take me to places unknown, describe textures and smells. I want my cat's rump to say to me, let's go on an adventure, experience culture, nature, and life. I want my cat's rump to drop drugs with me, wander off into the wilderness of imagination, visualize clouds and oceans. I want my cat's rump to teleport me to an unknown universe, taking in energy, space, and the cosmos. I want my cat's rump to put on a pair of googly eyes and entertain me the way other cats do on the internet. What does my cat's rump want to do? Lay dully on the bed, providing no inspiration at all. Okay, let's see. Keeping you at a distance to maintain your character. I don't want to spoil the illusion of who I want you to be. A magical, mythical being with infinite dream sequences. Get too close and the grand illusion is shattered. Become ordinary, comfortable. No more new car smell. No freckle unexplored. I want to remain mysterious, dreamy. I don't want to be comfortable with you. My oblivious muse, and I'm sure that we all have one. When you are near me, you inspire thoughts, feelings that would fill the shelves of ancient libraries. You amuse me, confuse me, and worst of all, you interrupt me. My train jumps the track and inspiration turns to perspiration. What was I writing? It came and went so fast you didn't know that you killed my flow about... What was I saying? I'm easily distracted. I blame this one on you. All right, let's move on to my other book here. We got it. This one's called Goblin Horde. It was inspired by a woman who broke into my apartment.
Whoa.
It was actually kind of like almost exactly last year. This woman broke into my apartment, and I actually had to go testify against her last week. So, it's all fitting, and I did my part. I think she's going to be getting help instead of going to jail. What were you thinking? You low-level thief. This isn't a side quest. You stumbled on a high-level goblin horde, not knowing the low coin value. Each shiny pebble collected over years of toiling, bravely guarded by dragons, arrogantly returned by heroes. You exposed me to paladins. I hate paladins. F paladins. Thank you for returning my shinies, paladins. You celebrated too soon. Intelligence fail. Final score, I level up. You go to jail. That was back before I wanted her to go to jail. I just think this one's fun. The gun, it's a $1 billion rift. The gun was jumped. In they dove like kids, ignoring all public schools' abstinence teaching, attempting to penetrate deep to catch a glimpse of the treasured secrets of the ocean, feeling the pressure of the ocean gripping the submersible as it probes further into the depths of the abyss. Unable to withstand the pressure, crack, leak, gasp, $250,000 spent to drift the deep western boundary current for eternity. Okay, one more and I think I'm going to pass out. Okay, so this one's called Exposed Process. And this one, I just love all my little inspirational things that go through my head that I can't really explain. Anyway, Exposed Process. Come on, let me see the back of your page. I long to see the discarded expressions deemed unworthy of your finished product. Those dirty clumps of words dashed out by lines and scribbles. Thoughts carefully, artfully, lovingly placed on paper, only to be scratched out and replaced by newer, younger, more provocative words. Tempting it to flip over, you know this is my kink. I want to ask, why did you scratch out that line? I beg to look again. I want to watch you do it, to gaze upon your your raw, unguarded pages. Admire your boldness, switching one expression for another. Question the deletion of yet another. Praise the gathering and sorting of phrases. As I near the climax of your composition, my pulse quickens. I wonder, was this your original intent? You deny me, you leave me panting, wanting, and drained. Thank you.
Hello. Hello there. We got a little time to fill, so I'm going to read a poem that's really important to me. And this is Stems, Seeds, and Roaches. We were returning from a grand evening performing poetry in St. Louis and had just finished our last cannabis cigarette when the blue lights came on. It was a cool evening and we had the windows rolled up, and we knew when we rolled down the windows, the young state policeman bound to get a residual buzz. We were stopped because our license plate had burnt out. At least that is what the young state policeman stated. And who were we to question authority? They arrested the poet in the back seat with the bright blue hair for possession of a tin with 2.5 grams of cannabis stem seeds and roaches. Before we knew it, there were 3 state police cars and 6 state policemen on the scene of the crime. After all, we did have 2.5 grams of cannabis stem seeds and roaches on our persons. We were dangerous performance poets. They made the driver take a cannabis field sobriety test. It was the first cannabis field sobriety test administered by the young state policeman. So the older state policeman, who was in charge and kept taking off his tight black leather gloves, conjuring up images of OJ, read the instructions out of the state police manual. It felt like I had been transported to right smack in the middle of a Comedy Central. By the time I was positioned on the side of the interstate, standing in the grass, flanked by 2 state policemen, after all, I was a dangerous performance poet wearing a blue tuxedo coat. The older state policeman with the tight black leather gloves inquired if I had been smoking cannabis. And I told him I had been smoking marijuana every day for the last 35 years, and that I was a Vietnam vet, and that I was a proponent of legalizing marijuana. After my mantra, no one had asked me another question. They took the poet with the bright blue hair who possessed the tin of 2.5 grams of cannabis stem seeds and roaches to the state police lockup and said bail would be $100. I tried to trade several poetry books for bail, but I guess the state police in Southern Illinois have no taste for poetry. The driver passed the cannabis field sobriety test, and we were free to go, except for the poet with the bright blue hair who possessed the tin of 2.5 grams of cannabis stem seeds and roaches, who we bailed out of the state police lockup, and then we headed back to Indiana in the dark. When we arrived back in Indiana, we retrieved the ounce of marijuana stashed in the drum bag in the trunk, smoked 1, 2, maybe 3 marijuana cigarettes, and played the drums until the sun rose. After all, we were dangerous performance poets.
Absolutely.
I'm just going to read more Bill Sovereign poems. I've got his book on my phone, so.
Represent him.
Hanging on death's doorstep. I have been surrounded by death lately. Grace's father died last fall. He had mastered death and ordered it to wait. Grace played the lead in the local theater production of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. It was scheduled for 5 more performances. The newspaper review stated that Grace gave a notable performance. Her father understood the idea of Elliot's time past. I have been running from death since the killing fields of Vietnam. It is omnipresent. It is the amethyst of the snow's moon. I have rooted myself in nature's slow time to deter death from death's doorstep. I will not die like Merritt. I will die the way of the Plains Indians. I will leave this place. I will always return. I have used the same laundry in the same neighborhood since I was in high school. If I ever left and never came back, I would surely be arrested for indecent exposure. The theater's production of Equus has been delayed by the death of a cast member's father. Grace had no idea she would be revisited by death so soon and now dear. Mother, it is strange to think of you as dead. Who will play the poet muse in Act 2? Who will rouse the hip huckster poets? Who will charm the sculpted steel con artists? I thought you would start Act 4 by pulling a rabbit out of your hat with a death full of flowers. And when I can't take it anymore, I start all over with Act 1. What's that?
I can never tell if it's the end of the poem or not. So.
What? You need a triangle up here when it hits the end of the poem. You hit a
Cowbell.
Cowbell,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yes.
Buddhist singing bowl, something.
You're getting around pretty good.
Pretty good. Yeah.
That's a hell of a hit. So, those are awesome. It is spooky time.
I'm not doing anything.
I know, I think you're fabulous.
I know.
This is no longer Writer's Guild, this is now Poetry Speaks. We just took over.
I attend a poetry reading by Steve Cowett. The fellow reading poetry at us wouldn't stop. Nothing would dissuade him. Not the stifling heat, the smoky walls with their illuminated clocks, our host who shifted anxiously from foot to foot, polite applause had stiffened to an icy silence. No one clapped or nodded, no one sighed. Surely he must understand that we had families waiting for us, jobs we had to get to in the morning. That chair was murdering my back. The cappuccino tasted unaccountably of uric acid. Lurid bullfight posters flickered in the red fluorescent light, and suddenly I knew that I had died. And for those much too windy readings of my own, had been condemned to sit forever in this damn cafe. A squadron of enormous flies buzzed around the cup of urine I had been drinking from. At the mic, our poet of the evening grinned and flicked his tail and kept on reading. Yeah, I've been reading from stand-up poetry. It's a 20-year-old anthology that just happens to have most of the people I grew up. I'm guessing when I took creative writing with Matthew Graham, he had just read this book, because a lot of these authors are the curriculum for his creative writing class.
Can I read the morning after?
You gonna read another poem?
Since you just read about actual poetry reading.
Yeah.
So he just read about the reading. I've got the morning after.
Too short.
Waking, rumpled, sore, satisfied, blurry-eyed from a night word exchange, throat tight from lengthy conversations, wanting to relive every poetic climax, and evening they kept coming. All evening they kept coming. You sat squirming in your seat, anxiously awaiting your turn. Your name was called out. Time stopped. Adrenaline rush. Spew your words. Cuddle and comfort afterwards. Waffles and a drive home. Was it real? It felt real. It's the morning after a poetry reading. I need a cigarette and a cup of coffee.
Love it.